Now, Danny, we are both big fans of control surfaces.
Huge.
Big fans. And I know myself, my workflow, I have to have control surface. Now, I spent a lot of money on my control surface. And in many ways, I do regret spending that sort of money on a control surface because it is just a control surface. However, the benefits it gives me is massive. So it's like basically having Pro Tools as a physical piece of hardware. Everything you can do in Pro Tools can be done by the touch of a hand.
And that's the Avid S4, isn't it?
S4.
Yeah.
Now, when you fitted this studio, didn't have a control surface.
I did have one just before what I've got now, and I sent it back. I hated it.
Oh,
it didn't
you
work
had
properly. It was the 16-channel fader port.
Fader port.
I didn't like it.
Yeah. And why didn't you like it?
Number one, it wasn't working as it should with Logic for some reason, and I spoke to them so many times, and no one could resolve the problems. I didn't like it compared to what I have now, I should say. It's not that I didn't like it. I preferred it to a mouse. And there was one previous thing that I had. Quite liked it, actually.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
The fader, the little one.
Yeah.
I've still got it in my cupboard. The little fader. What did they call it? One fader or something like that.
Yeah.
Fader port. That's the only thing I had. So I used to use a mouse and keyboard. Then I got that little one thing, which I loved. Then I got the 16 thing. Now I have SSL in this studio upon your recommendation. So I have two UF8s. So they've each got, as the name says, 8 faders. So I've got 16 faders, which you can bank. So it's endless faders, really. Yeah. I've got the UC1 for all my EQing and my compression. And other things as well, and I've got the UF1 which has the transport, and that has a single fader, nice screen on it. So I'm in the whole SSL, what do they call it, ecosystem, and I love it. I couldn't be without it.
Yeah, see, a lot of conversations I have with people, and a lot of people are reluctant to spend money on any sort of controllers because it's like, well, I can just do it with a mouse and keyboard. And I'm like, trust me. And I said this to you when you were like, I can just do it with a mouse and keyboard. I was like, trust me, your workflow will improve, your sound will improve. And then people go, how does your sound improve? And it's like, trust me, you get involved with the music, you feel it, where you're physically touching a fader or you're physically turning a knob for a parameter on a plugin, you instantly your sound becomes better without actually it like the control surfaces are doing nothing to the sound. But it's doing everything for you who's controlling the sound.
Yeah, it is the difference in my mixes since getting those controllers is night and day, and then some. Yeah. It is huge. And it's partly because, if I had to analyse, I've never thought about it really, but I think one reason is when you're using a mouse and keyboard, you can only do one thing at the time. You've got to physically select that channel on your DAW, in my case Logic, and then you've got to like get the mouse and like start doing your EQ, then and I'm not lazy at all. I'll do whatever it takes to get a good mix. But I can imagine myself in the past probably thinking, that's all right, you know. Like now, the way I've got mine set up as well, I can, let's say for example, on my faders on the left, I often would have kick, snare, clap, closed hi-hat, open hi-hat, bass, let's say for example. So they're all there laid out in front of me. I can tap, you don't even have to press select. I can tap the fader, the kick fader, and then what happens is, that's on the UF8, and then what happens is the UC1 with all the EQ and everything on it follows immediately. It goes to the kick. So I can straight away now, I've got all my bass frequencies, my upper frequencies, the amount of the threshold of the compression, everything in front of me, like a proper SSL desk from back in the day, which I've used. Okay. and it's a pleasure because it's a pleasure to get that kick sounding good because I'm not there looking. Guess what?
You're not gonna go find it.
No, and I don't have to look at my computer monitor. I can have the computer monitor off for the whole mix easily. I don't have to load up the plug. So the way I work is on every single channel I have a channel strip. So my favourite personally is the SSL 4KB.
Yeah,
I really like the sound of that.
The 4KB.
Yeah, so
that's my favourite of the. I think the J. I think is actually my favourite.
E.
No.
Oh, the J
series. J series. Is it J series? I think it is the J.
Is that FSL?
K series. No, mine's the K series.
Oh right.
K series is my favourite.
Okay, don't think I have those.
Yeah, I'm talking about consoles.
Oh, sorry, physical
I'm
consoles.
an analog guy.
Of course. Okay, yeah, okay, of course. So what is the 4KB? Oh, the K is K, isn't it? If it's got the word K in it.
4K, 4000D series.
Oh, okay, fine. But I just think it sounds fatter.
It does. It genuinely does.
More analog.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because I know you'd argue against that. But my point is, I can literally tap on the kick, do what I've got to do, then quickly tap on, for example, the snare, like that.
Yeah.
And then it straight away comes up on the UC1, do that, da-da-da. Then I might think, oh, I want to go back to the kick, da-da-da. And it's just so quick. It is like where a mix may have taken me for a client 4 hours in the past, I can now do it in half that time. I can do it in 2 hours.
Yeah.
It depends how many stems, obviously. Like, it is so quick. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't used to enjoy mixing at all. It was a necessity for me.
Yeah.
There were two things that I really didn't enjoy doing.
Vocal tuning.
And now I offer that.
Who enjoys vocal tuning?
No one. And I still don't like it. I get satisfied at the very end, thinking, wow, I've just made that singer who's lousy, no names mentioned, sound pretty incredible.
Oh, God, name one.
No way. But yeah, so that's that. But mixing and mastering, so I never used to offer it as a service.
Mm-hmm.
I did in the sense that
it was something that when people did productions,
it came with it. They expected me to mix and master. So that's. But now I actually offer it as a service, like you. That's what you do day in, day out. But now even I do that. I personally don't do anything I don't want to do. By the way, I'm not a money orientated person. I want to enjoy. I want to be happy in life and enjoy life. And no matter how much it earns me mixing and mastering, I wouldn't do it if I still hated it.
Yeah.
But genuinely, since getting my controllers, I love it. I've fallen in love with mixing. I didn't think I ever would.
Yeah.
And it's quick, and as you say, it's better. How do I explain why it's better? For example, when you want to get that warmth, that upper mid warmth.
Yeah.
So you can do it with a mouse. But when you're using a controller, it's like an instrument almost. I play the guitar and piano and everything. Yeah. It's like an instrument. And
I say this.
Yeah.
But I always sound like some sort of Buddhist monk.
Yeah.
You become one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is true.
Yeah.
You become one with it, and you don't become one with the mouse, with the mouse and the keyboard.
And you know why as well? It's holistic in a way, in the sense that I can work very quickly on several channels at the same time. We're going tap, 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 turn, like they would in the old days on the SSLs.
So do you feel like you're on an SSL console?
Absolutely.
Having come from one, having used one many, many a time.
Absolutely. The only real difference is, apart from you're going to argue maybe the sound a little bit, but the only real difference is that on the actual SSLs, you'd have all the faders in front of you, and every fader you'd have to lean over though. Yeah. Would have all the EQs and the compressors.
Yeah.
But now it's even more convenient because that's all in the middle. Like it's all in the center. The center console is the UC1 with all the EQ and everything. And it's just so quick. It's just, as I say, tap on something and it goes to the center. So yeah, it's like a modern day SSL desk for me. It feels the same. And it sounds very, very, very similar. And
in your opinion,
in my opinion, well, if you,
no, they do sound good.
They do. And even if it's not like exactly the same,
yeah,
in its own right.
It's close enough,
yeah,
for the convenience of what it is.
That's right. It's
and
different.
I really do rate the UF8.
Yeah.
I rate the UC1. I think they're brilliant products.
They are brilliant. The only slight tiny thing I have, and I've told you this before, with so the way I've got my controllers set up, so I've got the fade, like the UF8 here with the 8 faders. I've then got the UF1 there. I've then got the UC1 with all the EQ, and then I've got another UF8 there.
Yeah.
The only slight thing that tiny bit bugs me, yeah, that they're on either side. In a way, I would like to have in front of me all the faders, like literally in front, because I've got to lean over a little bit. Sometimes I get
the
a bit
thing
lost.
is there's no reason you can't put them in the middle and put the UC1 either side, and
I have thought about that, but then
you're in the same situation with
yeah.
that.
I've even thought about selling one of my UF8s and just having the 8 faders in the middle, and that way I don't have to lean too far with the other 2 units. I have thought about that because it's so easy to bank over.
Yeah,
you know, it takes a millisecond. But because of that, I have even been thinking about actually getting rid of all my beloved SSL, even though I love it, and buying the latest soft tube, because the latest soft tube, the faders are 10 faders.
Yeah.
You can have that in front of you, and then you've got I think it's called
the
console.
Transport controls on there as well.
You don't have, no, there isn't
transport?
not yet. I've got a feeling they'll bring that out. But I've got a little, what's that thing you told me to buy? The
Stream Deck.
The Stream Deck.
Yeah.
So I've also got my transport on there.
Yeah, so you can put transport on
Yeah,
there.
it's pretty good. And but with the new console, you can then have behind, sort of raised up your EQ and everything. So I am kind of tempted in a little way. But that being said, apart from that little thing that they're apart, life changing. Now, it used to be that using the SSL ecosystem, you are stuck with using SSL product. You were stuck with using only SSL, and that's not a bad thing at all, because they're brilliant. They're incredible. And in the old days, that's what people would do. They would just use one SSL desk. And now you can actually use the UF1 to control any plugin, any third-party plugin. It's not absolutely ideal, because number one, the knobs on the actual UC1, they're set out as a channel strip, and they don't say what you're controlling, you know. So there is that. Whereas, am I right in saying on your Avid,
on the S4,
on the S4,
so basically you've got a bank of 8, 4 banks of 8, and you can assign wherever you want it, and each of the pots lights up
with the name of
it.
I mean, that's incredible.
And says the value. Yeah, I mean, this is why it's a very expensive.
What was that? 38 grand, wasn't it?
I think it was 40. Yeah, maybe it's 38. I think they're about 38.
In my mind, you said 38 once, but
Yeah.
so it's a lot of money. But the fact that they light up, I mean, that's pretty incredible. But,
so you can map a plugin out.
Yeah.
So it looks and feels pretty much identical to actually
Amazing.
using it. So you don't. The thing with the S4 is there's no real reason to look at certain things. You can just literally go bang bang. You know where everything is.
Yeah.
Which is a problem if you're mapping an EQ to a UC1. Is there's more parameters. Like if you're mapping FabFilter, Pro Q4 for instance, on the EQ section of the UC1, you've got gain, frequency, and Q.
Yeah.
But then on the bands for Pro Q4, you've got, you can switch that from mid to side to left to right. So that's another parameter. Then you've got another. There's about 8 parameters I have assigned. And then you've got all the dynamic EQ on it as well. So all of that is assigned to all these different pots, and it says exactly. So if I'm switching from bell to shelf, it says bell, shelf.
Yeah. When you do that, let's say with Pro Q4, do you have Pro Q4 up in front of you on a monitor? Do you look at it? As soon as I start
using it, the plugin
it just comes
pops
up.
Yeah.
No way.
So,
and when you stop, does it go?
No, when you move on to another one, you bring another one up.
Really?
Yeah, so whatever you move to next.
Wow.
And I have it so I've basically got the all the pots are here,
Yeah.
and then above that is a screen.
Oh, wow.
So all the plugins load on that screen.
So it's as though that screen were part of the desk in a way.
Yeah. So it's like, it's I can
Like, what do they call it on the old SSL desk? The bridge.
The bridge. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's incredible. So to me, it almost makes it worth the money. It is worth.
It is worth the money. It's worth the money from a business perspective massively because I am 10 times faster than if I didn't have it. The other things with it is like all my pan pots are on there as well. All my send and return, all of that's all on there as well. If I create any groups, I just literally press a button. I've got all my groups.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I can as well with my one. I've got two, like you've got two banks either side. Now what I do is I have all my audio tracks on my left hand side, and then I have all my folder tracks or buses on my right hand side.
So you can't do that on the SSL.
Yeah. So what I can do is basically, inside each of my folders, I'll have, let's say I've got a snare folder and it's got 3 snares in it. I've got 3 snares in it. Now, I'll have my folder track with all my bus processing on it, which I can all control from the right side. But if I hit the attention button, all 3 of those audio tracks that are inside that folder spill onto the other side. And then I've got all my processing on those tracks as well that I can do off of the other side. So it's a really, really good way of working. It's a huge workflow thing. It's
interesting. And do you, are you have you ever thought about this, like I mentioned, about would you, in an ideal world, have the faders in front of you in the middle?
No, I like them left and right.
What do you like them?
Well, because the thing with it is on my one, like you've got a jog wheel, I am 100 times faster because of this. My jog wheel is my zoom in and out. Then I've got the magic mouse, which is my left and right and up and down. Right. So I'm literally left, right, up, down to move around the session, and then zoom in, out. And I've got it down to muscle memory where it's just literally
right.
I can literally go into a section, edit that next bit in, and it's so quick.
I sometimes get lost. So what I now have done quite recently, and it's quite good actually, on the UF1, let's say you're on channel 1 and you want to quickly go to channel 42 or something like that. Rather than bank through, what I'll do now is very quick on the UF1. You've got a little dial, knob. I'm not talking about the jog wheel. And you can just so quickly go, and suddenly you're on 42, and everything follows. It is such a game changer, and I've got to thank you for that. Go on.
You can't say game changer.
Why?
I banned that word.
Oh, I won't say game.
Do you know why I banned that word?
Yeah, because
too many YouTubers go, oh, this plugin is a game changer. It's an EQ, mate.
No.
There's nothing game changing about it. That's a whole nother video.
Yeah, but for me it is.
Oh no, this is a game changer.
Compared to mouse. And do you know what's funny?
The thing with it is the control surface, the UF8 itself is not a game changer.
No,
it's a control surfaces in general are game changers for you. It's a game changer in that sense, but the UF8 itself is not the game changer.
No, exactly.
It's just like every other controller. Exactly. There's nothing different about it that's a game changer.
You know what I love with mine as well, just going back to what I've got, my UF1 has a screen on it. So when I'm EQing on the UC one, I see the EQ curve.
Yeah, which you wouldn't. You don't even in the plugin see that.
No.
So that's an added.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, use your ears and all that, but it is nice. It is.
You
nice.
knew what the comment section were going to say.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree. Yeah. But actually, maybe even if it's psychological, I'm not sure. It is nice to see a visual thing. Sometimes.
Why is FabFilter Pro Q4 so popular?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's as much a visual aid as it is an EQ.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I use it as my spectrum analyzer and my master. I don't touch it as an actual mastering EQ, but because I know the spectrum analyzer so well, it sits on my master to be used as my spectrum analyzer. No, they're really fantastic. What about the have you ever used the Nectar? It's a CS12, I believe it's called. So that's come out I think a few months ago. I've heard a few people have used it, and it's the one that you got a picture of earlier.
Yeah,
the picture.
it's the one at the moment. It's
Yeah.
meant to be incredible for Logic Pro, and now as well they've made it incredible apparently for Cubase. That's right.
So I've never touched one. I'm only going off of what, let's say, reputable people I know have said who either have one or have used one, and they say it's good and it works, but it's a little flimsy.
Yeah, it looks a bit plasticky, I think.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I've heard negative about it.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, it does what it says on the tin.
Yeah, it's meant to be amazing, like according to a few of my friends.
Yeah.
The only thing is, it's just one fader. And but
there's lots of pots.
There's lots of pots, but you've only got one physical fader. Now I've got used to having 16 faders, and the thing is, like for example, okay, I'll give you an example. I was mixing something. I think it was last night. Yeah, it was last night, and the backing vocals. You know, there were. I think there were about four. I think there were about four of them, and all at once I was just pushing them up. You can't do that with a mouse. One at a time.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, you can if you select them all.
Select them.
Actually, no, you can't really.
You can group them.
They have to be next to each other. Yeah, you can group them, but it's a palaver, like a little bit.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, I know you are. But I was literally, it was so nice to physically.
No,
I
get
felt
that.
like the desk.
It's the same with me because of the way I work with. I've got my buses all here. Now I've got my audio tracks there, so I can get a vocal. For instance, if I've got, let's say I've got a lead vocal and a kind of a backing, a doubles or something, two vocals inside this bus. I've got control over the bus volume.
Yeah,
and then I've got control on my left hand.
Yeah.
For the volumes of each of those.
That's right.
Of those channels.
Yeah.
So if I need to bring the doubles down slightly, I can bring the doubles down slightly whilst bringing up the bus and vice versa.
With me, the way it works with the SSL is you would have the folder track, like the bus track here, and then next to it all the channels. Down. So again, I can just bring down the folder track, and and usually like BVs might be there. I'll have the BV track and then all the BVs. So it's a bit different, but it's great. But you know what? I had to go to an outside studio. I think it was a few months ago. It was for a whole week. It was a writing camp, and I had to take my MacBook Pro, and I had to use. It wasn't even a mouse. It was the trackpad. It was horrible.
I bet it was.
So
this
long.
Is the thing is once you go down this route of using controllers, it's very difficult to go back. I bought my first controller when I was 20.
Really? Which one was that?
That was a DigiDesign Command 8.
Okay.
Do you know what happened?
No.
I won on a football bet.
Yeah.
On an accumulator.
Yeah.
And I won £1,200.
Wow.
So I went down to Digital Village in Romford.
I know them very well. Yeah.
Yeah. I just picked up a Command 8 off the shelf.
Wow.
I always wanted one.
Yeah.
And I got home and I was like, I got a console.
How many faders did that have?
Eight faders.
Really?
Hence Command 8.
Yeah.
Command
Of course.
8.
Yeah. Wow.
But then I never went back from that.
Right.
I then went to a DigiDesign 003, which is basically the next one up from that. So I had this DigiDesign 003. I then swapped that for Euphonics, the silver-faced, which now look like the old Artist Mix Avid ones. Got rid of that, swapped that for an SSL Nucleus.
I remember when
which
you had
was
that.
16 channels of
That was
faders.
great.
That was
I like
really
that.
good. Yeah. And then from the SSL Nucleus went to the Avid S4.
Right.
And then I would, from the Avid S4, I'll literally get something that is another control surface once something better than the S4 comes
Oh,
out.
really? You don't think that's for life?
No.
Really?
Nothing's ever for life.
I suppose.
The only thing that's for life's maybe your wife.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Let's end it there.
All right, no, that was fantastic. Well, listen, Paul, very informative. I think we both agree on the, like sometimes we have debates, don't we? We don't always agree, but I think like on this
we
topic,
both agree. Yeah. Had we had this conversation maybe 4 years ago,
Yeah.
you'd have maybe not agreed with
No,
me.
I wouldn't. I'd have argued against it. But you persuaded me, and to get these ones at least.
Yeah. When have I ever steered you wrong?
No, you haven't actually. Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
But,
Still time.
yeah, exactly. And just very last but not least, have you worked on analog discs in the past or not really? Yeah. You have. So, other than the obvious, like the Total Recall that you didn't have with analog discs back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are there analog discs now where there is Total Recall?
So you have Total Recall on SSL consoles.
You do.
So you got it on the Duality. I believe you got it on the AWS. Yeah.
So
Total Recall.
Considering that, also, what would you prefer then? Would you prefer the AWS or would you still choose the Avid?
No, this is a tricky one. It's a tricky one because if I was to pick now, would I choose an AWS or the Avid S4? And the problem is the AWS would give me more in the way of sound.
And analog.
In terms of sound and analog, give me not channel strips but EQs across multiple channels.
Yeah.
However, it wouldn't give me as much control.
True.
So there's far less control. What would I choose? I don't really know, but I'm kind of a little bit leaning towards an analog console. But I know as soon as I got an analog console, switched it for an analog console, I'd instantly regret it.
Yeah, because you're controlling the likes of Pro Q4 now.
Yeah,
how are you going to live without that?
Here's the difference.
Yeah,
I've got 100. I think I've got 170 channels I counted of analog processing, and 160 channels of that is digitally recallable. Now
with the Avid.
Yeah, so all these pieces of analog hardware that I've got, it's all digitally recallable.
And you're controlling that with the Avid S4?
I could if I wanted to.
Oh, do you not?
I don't. I know, because of, why would you control it with a controller when you can just be hands-on with all the equipment?
Right.
But, so here's the thing. And I'm controlling all the McDSP
That's what I'm
modules.
talking about. Sorry. Yeah, you are. Right.
So all the McGSP modules are controlled via it. But, so that alone... kind of answer my question. I would prefer to be on the Avid S4, and the reason is, with my Avid S4, I've got the best of both worlds. I've got full control over the session, and all the plugins, anything that I use, I've got full control. I've got full control over everything I could possibly want to do in Pro Tools. I can control with a control surface, which is brilliant. But what I've done is I've built channel strips, so I still have. I've got, let's say, 60 channel strips.
Yeah.
So I have 60 analog channel strips. Then I've got 16 channels of Rupert Neve design summing as well.
Yeah.
I've created the analog end of a mixing console.
Literally, so you don't need the AWS because you've got analog anyway.
Yeah.
It feels
so I've got all of this. I've got all the summing.
Yeah.
I've got all the channel strips. But the good thing about this is the difference with it being, if I was to be using the AWS, the problem I'd have there is I've got one sound.
Yeah, a bit like me with my SSL plugins in a way. I know digital, but
although you can switch plugin, you can switch sound,
but I prefer not to.
Yeah, so you do generally prefer a certain sound of one of them.
Yeah,
but I have the choice of, do I want to have a Vari-Mu compressor? Do I want to have a VCA compressor? Do I have a FET style compressor?
Yeah.
Do I want this compressor, this EQ? Do I want Pultec style? Do I want this? I can choose whatever goes on to those channel strips. I'm not fixed by what's on the console, and that's why I done what I done.
That being said, I think another reason why I'm so fast now when it comes to mixing is because I literally use one plugin on every channel, the SSL.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking for...
You've almost created yourself a console.
I have. Yeah. It literally feels like that. And that's it. I feel, even though I've spent thousands on plugins, like if I could go back now, I wouldn't have bought any of them really, because like I say, I'm just using the SSL on everything, and it is like a console, and that's it. And I in my mind, that's all I've got available, so I don't have to spend time choosing this and that and this and that. But yeah, I've got no regrets getting that at all, and thank you for advising me, and I'll always ask you.
Yeah.
Amazing, brilliant. Thanks, Paul.
No worries.
Speak soon.